Do you think it was something I said? Hi everyone! A couple of months ago, John from John's Mini World reached out to me, and I got so excited to have a potential friend who has the same hobby interests as I do that I suggested we do a collab together. If you're coming here from John's channel, welcome to Art and Anxiety, where I craft to appease the mental health monster. If you stumbled on this through my channel, then once you've watched this video, make sure to click the link in the description box or in the info card and go watch John's video. I saw some sneak peeks of what he's putting together and it's really awesome. Also, if you're not familiar with John's channel, be sure to subscribe to him and check out some of his other videos. He's a really talented creator and I think you guys are going to love his content. If you're not familiar with my channel, then I should tell you the theme here is that nothing ever goes according to plan, but we roll with it and try to turn it into a Bob Ross happy accident. This project was no exception. In fact, this project and this video tried to break my spirit. I ended up with over 25 hours worth of video footage because I had to fix things so many times. But I still managed to lose the footage of the important steps that I wanted to show you. So it's been a really fun journey. In the end though, there was one really happy accident. So that's what I'm going to focus on today and show you how I did it. John picked the theme for our collab and he came up with witchy. I picked the supply for us to use, and I'm still looking for reasons to use up that case of skeletons I got from the Dollar Tree, so of course I jumped right on the opportunity to get rid of a few more. For my project, I had the idea of a witch cooking up a potion of some sort in a graveyard. Initially, I thought of just making a cauldron filled with skeleton stew, but that idea eventually morphed into a witch who was cooking something she shouldn't have been messing around with. And she had a terrible accident in the process. Because really, what we put into the universe will always come back to haunt us sooner or later. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on what I did with the skeleton. These guys are a really great supply to have on hand if you make spooky inch scale miniatures. They're cheap, you get 4 for $1, and there are so many things you can do with them. The first thing to do is prep the skeleton by cutting off any weird bits of plastic that are sticking out. And if you want them to be in any other position than straight as a board, you're going to want to cut them apart at the joints right away too. Cutting them apart early on in the process just makes it easier to prep the pieces for painting and gluing. At this point, I wasn't completely sure what I was going to do with my Skelly, so I spent a whole lot of time prepping and refining him so that no matter what, it would look great. I used a Dremel to sand down all of the seams and smooth out the ends where I'd cut it apart so that they would look more like bones instead of cut pieces of plastic. I even went so far as to spend some time refining the skull by drilling out the eye sockets and the nose holes and sanding down the jawline so it wasn't so chunky. Once I sanded everything, I gave it a good cleaning with some acetone on a sponge. The acetone cleans off the paint, oils, and the coatings from the manufacturing process, and it also hazes the plastic a little bit, making glue and paint stick a little easier. Now, I have a confession to make, and I'm saying this just for John. The one thing I absolutely hate about these skeletons are the feet. These feet look like skeletal representations of Fred Flintstone. I can easily tell whenever someone has used one of these guys in a project because the feet are so noticeably terrible. I wanted to fix that. So I Googled what a human skeleton foot is supposed to look like and started chopping the toes off. Once I had them shaped more normally, I rounded off the cut ends to make them look like bones again. They're still a little too wide to look completely normal, but they look a lot better than they did when I started. Now that my Skelly was all prepped, I started gluing it back together. These things are notoriously difficult to glue. I've had the best luck with hot glue and the worst luck with super glue. If you have a good glue recommendation for gluing together a dollar store skeleton, let me know in the comments. Next time I might try E6000 and see if that works any better because it was breaking apart even with the hot glue this time around. I wanted to position my skeleton / witch to look like she'd tried to get away as the accident that caused her demise happened. So I positioned her as if she had tried to crawl and then collapsed onto the ground. I used Google Images to figure out where humans place their hands and knees when they're crawling, just to try and get it as realistic looking as I possibly could. I wanted her to be partially up, as if the potion she was cooking almost mummified her in place when it touched her. But the skeleton and the glue weren't cooperating, so she was more collapsed than I had originally intended, but she's not completely flat, so I'm okay with it. Warning. This next bit gets unintentionally gruesome, in a cartoon violence kind of way. No actual blood was spilled in the making of this project, it just went in an unintentionally dark direction. My kid sent me a TikTok video of people making Halloween yard decorations by wrapping a life-size plastic skeleton in saran wrap. I thought I could use this technique to make my teeny tiny skeleton look like it had been mummified. I was thinking maybe her potion was an age spell that she was going to give to a girl she was jealous of, or something like that. So I wrapped up my little skeleton in plastic wrap, covering all of the hard work that I put into prepping it so the bones looked perfect, and then carefully used my heat gun to shrink the plastic. I say carefully because if you remember, I used hot glue to hold it together, and the heat gun will undo that before you can say, oh crap. The technique did have the advantage, though, of stabilizing all of my joints, so that part's a win. Now, here's where things started to get a little gruesome. I should have just painted it like a mummy, but no, I had to be extra. In the TikTok video I mentioned, they used wood stain on their decorations and gave it sort of a translucent, dried flesh look. So I dug through my wood stain stash and found two that I thought might do the trick. The first one was a redwood stain, and oh my god, my witch has been skinned alive. No. Oh, okay. I'll use this other, more brown stain over the top of it, and the two will balance out each other, right? Right? No. It's just making it look more realistic. Good Lord, it's worse. Oh, God, what have I done? So at this point, I'm sitting, staring at my horrible creation, wondering if I could paint over it, or if I was going to have to cut off all of the plastic and start over again. And about that time, my husband walked by and basically told me that that was the coolest thing I had ever made. I was dumbfounded because here is this gruesome looking mess, but he encouraged me to ask some other people what they thought of it. So I went ahead and put up pictures on my Facebook and Instagram page to kind of see what people thought. Turns out, y'all are weirdos. I got an overwhelmingly positive reaction to this little piece of human bacon. So, I decided to roll with it. I threw a coat of ultra matte sealer over it just to make it look not so gooey, and soldiered on. I didn't want to make clothes for her, and naked potion making in the cemetery in the middle of the night is totally a thing, right? I did decide she needed a cloak, though, I guess, to get her to and from the graveyard in, with the added benefit of it covering her up a little bit to reduce the shocking nature of her injuries. As an aside, one of my best friends is a seamstress, and I am not. So, Bonnie, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry for the pain I'm about to cause you. I found a pattern online for a Barbie-sized cloak and just reduced it down to 5 inches to fit my skeleton. I then cut out the pieces and glued them together. Yes, you heard me right. I glued them. I just told you I don't sew. I didn't worry too much about the glue seeping through the fabric because this is a well-worn cloak. She wears it out for her naked rituals in the cemetery all the time. So I was going to add additional dirt and grunge with paint and pastels later on, so the glue just looked like some additional stains. Fabrics in miniatures can be problematic. They just don't have enough weight in their miniature form to look natural, so you have to weigh them down to achieve a natural look. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to do that, and much better miniaturists than me to explain how to do it. But for my diorama, the easiest thing for me to do was just bunch and drape the fabric while also trying to think about how it would have twisted and fallen when she collapsed, and glued those bunches and drapes directly into place. Now that my witch is complete, it's time to put her into my diorama. I made a little graveyard scene complete with a fire pit and a cauldron, and unfortunately for our little witch, one of the legs on her tripod broke, spilling out the last potion she would ever make. I like to fill my scenes with as much detail as I can imagine to add to the story. So I made a stack of wood that she's using for the fire out of some sticks that I found in the park, a gravestone that I purchased from Michael's ages ago and then repainted for the scene, a few bottles of ingredients that she would have used in her potion, a bowl of crushed dry ingredients with a pestle that I carved out of a wood dowel, and a book of spells, which is another miniature that I purchased from Michael's and just aged for this scene. For the finishing touch, I mixed up 2-part resin, added in some green and yellow alcohol ink with a drop of white and a scoop of green mica, just to make the mixture semi-opaque. Then I dripped it onto my scene, all of which my camera decided not to film. So you're going to have to take my word for it when I tell you that I used a dropper to drop the resin up into the cauldron and let it spill out and pool on its own so that it would look like a natural spill. I then went back and teased the resin up under the witch to make it so that she was completely lying in a pool of goo. I let it dry for a day, and here's the reveal. I love how this turned out. It's nothing like what I had originally thought or planned or even envisioned. But sometimes projects are just going to do what they're going to do, and our best efforts aren't going to stop them from becoming whatever it is that they want to be. I would have loved to have shown you the other 27 hours of build in this video, but I'm not sure my channel can support a feature-length film at this time. So if there's any part of this project that you'd like to see more detail on, let me know in the comments and I can make that footage into a video later on. Be sure to go watch John's video if you haven't already, but not before you give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I need 50 likes to pay my therapist. He used to take Bitcoin, but I guess that market's too unstable for him now. One last thing. If you're a YouTube creator who focuses on making things in your videos, we have started a new group for networking and collaborations. So if you'd like to get in on future collaborations, check out the links in the description box below. We have a Facebook group and a subreddit, and we would love to see you there. Thank you so much to John from John's Mini World for reaching out to me that day in May, for doing this with me, and for putting up with my neuroses. I had a blast. It has been so much fun. And thank you all for watching. Until next time, stay sane.